Hello, friend. Season
4.
The Mystical American Patriots Society is transmitting to you from a high desert encampment on the frontier of our agrarian hoplite republic. This is a variety program for happy warriors who are getting some seriously bad vibes from the deranged post-Christian technocracy. Grab a tankard of yak's milk and join us by the campfire as Sumo and Kavi return to shake your surveillance, expel your parasites, and generally have a good time. Are you ready? Stand by.
Mystical American Patriots Society, now available in 3 dimensions.
Hello and shalom, my brother. I'm here with Walter Bismarck of Substack fame and the podcast The Walt Right. How are you, my friend?
I am great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing well. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I've been reading and catching up on a lot of your stuff, and I think you have a lot of ideas that are important to bring clarity to the situation, particularly regarding the way the generations are unfolding, like Generation Alpha, and about the nuances necessary to understand racism properly, as you detailed in the Aryan question and so on.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's I like to I've been writing like a lot of different stuff this year. Like a lot of it has gotten kind of more inflammatory than I did last year. Like I had like some really explosive growth last year because I was a bit more Straussian and I was a bit more I don't know. I guess sort of like accommodationist, but I guess I've been getting just a little bit. I've been wanting to clarify things, because I feel like there's a lot of obscurantism, right, in the modern world, and I feel like, especially when it comes to young people, I think there's a lot of stuff that gets lost. You mentioned the generational stuff. There's a lot of stuff about, especially like the younger half of Zoomers, and then especially Gen Alpha. I mean, I just feel like it's totally illegible to older generations, and there's like a serious just. I mean, like we call boomers out of touch, but I think at this point, like Gen X and even elder millennials are pretty out of touch. So.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know what 6-7 is or why it's used,
Right.
It's just like this word that goes around. You wrote a whole article on that. Could you, that's as good a place as any to start. What do you think of the meaning of this phrase that everyone just assumes is nonsensical, 6-7 is?
Yeah, so I think it is like it's sort of nonsensical, but I think like that's like sort of the exoteric layer. I think there's an esoteric layer where the reason it's gotten so prominent and the reason like people are reacting so strongly to it, I don't think the kids themselves are necessarily. I think that the reason that the adults are reacting in a very negative way is because 6 and 7 are like the holy and demonic numbers, right?
Right.
So like I think if it were 3, 4, 8, 9, like people wouldn't care as much. Number one. Number two, I think that like the way it's specifically said, and then the way they write it out, the kids write it out is like 67, right?
Yes.
Like there's no distinction with like, but the way I would usually write it is like with a dash, right? To sort of like, but for them, like they're sort of their entire life like lacks like semantic definition in the sense that like they're always getting this like slop, this like they grew up in an oral culture where everything like the feed was always moving really fast. There was never like a defined like life was very episodic, right? It wasn't like very like slow paced and sort of like diachronic like ours, but like it was very like sort of you know it's just like a sea, right? It's just like always shifting, and so like because of that, like I think that they oftentimes will take in symbols almost like it's like a slurry, and it's not really like defined. And I think that like what's so disturbing about 6-7 is it's sort of you're taking like two numbers, and like everybody raised in a textual culture is sort of you know like you come up like thinking of those as very two distinct things, and the way they say it, right? It's sort of like it's ametric. It's like kind of in a it's almost as if like it's one thing for them, and I think that is maybe on like a subconscious register. I think it's like very disturbing to a lot of older generations, and I think like what's happening is Gen Alpha is sort of like swaggering in the lack of semantic content, and like that's sort of the whole point. But it's like it's a generational statement that they're kind of saying like the world doesn't make sense anymore, and you're sort of like trying to impose that expectation on us, and it's just really weird that we still have all these like same old institutional structures when our lived reality, like the reality they're living on Instagram and all the other apps is just like it's totally amoral. It's totally like very like Gaussian, like status. I mean, it's just a completely different lived experience. And I feel like there's just, especially with like most of the teachers being millennials, like they're going to be very moralistic, very earnest. So that's why they're shutting it down. That's why they're freaking out over it.
Yeah, it's Skibbity Riz 67 Ohio. It's all their memes are nonsensical in a way. Because as you point out, they are like the first resurgence of a truly oral culture. Like everything that online is happening, they're just talking to each other via FaceTime, recording videos. No one's typing anything and sending it out in print to anybody anymore. It's a different landscape.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that is. Go ahead.
We underestimate how much that. Yeah, I was gonna say we underestimate how much that actually changes like the structure of thought, right?
Yes.
Because like we know that like like people who are literate versus not literate, or people like who get introduced to like like algebra or not. I mean, like stuff like that like changes how you think in a really important way. And I think that like having short form video be like the standard communicative platform. I mean, it's gonna make people a lot more like truth is going to be less propositional. It's going to be like not as something that persists through time. I mean, you already see that in how like younger Zoomers date and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have like a lot more. It's going to be much more gossipy. It's going to be much more all about like that, like big man, like show offy culture. I mean, it's going to be very tropical is the thing. So, I think people are sort of kind of sleeping on how bad this is.
Yeah, because if you don't we did a show on this a while ago about how text and reading changes the way your brain works. And there is a writing culture has a separation, an air gap between thought and action, whereas an oral culture does not. And like the emotion and the words go together in a way that's going to be quite alienating and different to anyone that was experienced the world before the internet really took off.
Oh yeah. I mean, just like the notion of like what truth is, right? The idea that you could have, even like the idea of receipts, like that's a very passe for like younger generations.
Yeah, I never take a receipt. I don't know why you would.
It's like very, everyone just has their narc cult, right? And everyone just gets fed by their narc cult. And the thing is, like that's fine when it comes to like social reality to like some extent. I mean, like we can accommodate that, but like when it comes to like engineering and I mean like there's certain structures that like just need a fixed objective truth. You need a text culture for that, and I don't know if Gen Alpha is going to be able to like supply enough like engineers and stuff because it's just like they're not like they don't think that way, Yeah,
they don't. Everything their whole life when they've been growing up because Gen Alpha. I mean, well, let's be specific. When do you define Gen Alpha?
2010 onward, I think, is the typical cutting off point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. So all my children are Gen Alpha, and they have never grown up in a world where people communicate primarily through text or through any kind of written. Everything they do to communicate with their friends is they don't even call them on the phone anymore. They just FaceTime them, right? It's just speaking directly face to face all the time, kind of mimicking an old tribal culture in a way.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and it's very and it does show like a lot of the way that they communicate and the way they think is alien, even, to me, one generation removed already.
They might be a little bit less autistic than like early Zoomers and late millennials were, especially because I think like we had like a like we got on the internet and like that sort of made us more like asocial. But
Right.
we weren't doing that. Like the fact that they're going to be seeing each other's like facial expressions, like that might actually be like kind of like redemptive in a sense, like from like the past few cohorts. But I think that like, yeah, I mean, like when it just comes to like standards of truth, when it comes to like the bullying is getting really bad these days, but it's often undetectable to adults because it's
Yeah.
like really like the gap in terms of like, can you like, is the younger generation even legible to you, is like way bigger than it's ever been before. And yeah, I don't think people realize.
Yeah, because like if you notice, I've noticed people my age and older, even now they're falling for it. Like if you have a question and you go and you type it in the computer, if the AI, if Google Gemini or whatever says an answer, they go, well, there it is, which is really stupid. But they just accept the written word as truth. And I've noticed that like my kids will be like, well, that's just something on the screen. It's just another voice on the screen. It doesn't mean like the objective, who holds the keys to objective truth is if that even is a thing, is very up in the air.
Right. Well, yeah, because like they trust like whatever their like warlord, their epistemic warlord is, like their
Yeah.
influencer, right? Or like whoever is like
Whoever their
staff.
leader is, they've chosen, is that's who's given them the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I mean, the thing is, like if you're in the right microculture, like the boys who like get into like the hustler grinds, like there might actually be some microcultures where the guys are just like killers, right?
Yeah.
Because they're getting like the right heuristics, the right takes, and like like the right filtration mechanisms and the right sort of social. I mean, it could be really good if you're in the right microculture, but the thing is that requires you to already have the neurotype that predisposes you to get into that, and if you don't, yeah, I mean, like I don't know, just like like I feel like microcultures that you see these days are much less like just broadly legible to all of society. Like with millennial subcultures, you can kind of like see what the values are of like being an emo versus being a nerd. Like what sort of music do they listen to? What kind of jokes do they tell? These days, I think it's a lot more based on luck and a lot more like, do you happen to like just be in the right Discord server at this time? I mean, it's very it's very luck based, very asymmetric, and
Less
I think
chosen.
you get a lot of. Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, you get huge asymmetric like life outcomes in late Zoomers, and especially I think you're going to see it with Gen Alpha, and I think that's going to precipitate like some social unrest that people are not ready for.
Yo, stop! Collaborate and listen. You have hit a paywall edition. To enjoy the rest of this episode and continue receiving further enlightenment, please become a financial supporter on either Patreon, Gumroad, or our Substack. Links provided in the show notes.